Hello and welcome to PMCHAMP's PMP Exam Preparation Coaching Program. I am your coach Vinai Prakash. In this session, we will look at the types of exam questions you can encounter in the PMP exam. This will open your eyes to the different kinds of things that you need to be aware of. Let's see. There is a heavy focus on situational questions, but you will also come across some questions which are out of the blue. They just throw a new term at you which you have never heard about. So what do you do in such situations? We will teach you some techniques on how to handle such questions. There will be several questions where you will seem to have two or more correct answers. They both seem to be right. Some questions will be ambiguous. Ambiguous means not clear. Most questions will be very wordy, very long, verbose. Some questions will require you to apply the knowledge of the right processes in the correct order. So not only do you need to know the processes, you must also know the correct order of each process, like which process comes first, what comes next, and what should you be doing after this or before this. So we will be giving you a lot of practice on such questions, as well as towards the end, once you have covered all the processes, I will give you a roadmap of the correct process map. Which process comes first, what comes next kind of thing. It's a very systematic way of answering the PMP questions. Finally, you will get several questions which will ask you what is a tool and technique of this process. What is the output of this process? What's the input to create this document? These questions, in short, we refer to them as ITTO. ITTO refers to inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. As you know, there are 49 processes, and for each process there is a unique set of ITTOs. So good knowledge of these will also help you in not only understanding but also answering several questions on the examinations. So you got to be prepared for these type of questions so that you don't waste time and you are not caught off guard while you are taking the examination. You should be aware, alert, and the moment you see the question, you should okay, I know how to tackle this question, and straight away go to answering and spotting the right answer. I am going to give you now some practice on the types of questions. So I will show you a question of each type of this that is listed here to gain a better understanding. Now when I show you the question, you should make a choice. Even if you are not aware, take a guess. It is always good to make a choice whatever your knowledge or experience be. And then later on, as I explain it, you can then test and see did you get it right or not. The first type of questions you will get is situational questions. Here, in most cases, there will be two or more than two right answers. Such questions are testing how fast can you read, how fast can you make a decision. Do you know what is the correct order of making decisions? They will test on your problem solving skills. They will also test on your proactiveness. How proactive are you? Do you wait for the problem to happen and then you react, or are you able to preempt the problem by solving it beforehand? Let's look at a question so that we get a better idea. Supply of the boat engine parts you are purchasing from China will be delayed by another week as there is a labor union issue. What is the best thing to do? And the choices are A. Notify your management of the delay and ask them what to do. B. Ignore it. This is a minor issue and will not delay the project too much. C. Let the customer know about the delay and discuss the options with them. It is always good to involve the customer. D. Meet with the project team and identify alternatives. So make a quick choice. Alright, let's tackle the question. So let us find what exactly is the problem. The parts that you are purchasing will be delayed by another week. There is a labor union issue, and now they're asking you what's the best thing to do. A says notify your management about the delay. Ask them what to do. This means notify your boss. Sure, you can do it. Looks like a good choice. Second, ignore it. This is a minor issue. It will not cause such a big delay. How do you know this is a minor issue? Is there any mention of this being a minor issue? No. So this is a distractor. Without any knowledge, without any information about this, you cannot choose this. And anyway, you know, ignoring problems doesn't make them disappear. You must do something. So option B is not the best choice. Let's look at the third option. Let the customer know about the delay and discuss options with them. It is always good to involve the customer. Sure, no doubt about it. It is always good to involve the customer, inform the customer. Sure, why not? But the problem is, do you want to straight away go to the customer and tell them, I can't get the delivery of the boats because the engine parts that we are sourcing have been delayed? First of all, if you inform this to the customer might be alarmed, might be worried, and the customer will ask you, so what have you thought about? What is your alternative plan? How else will you solve this problem? And you tell them, that's why I came to discuss with you. I want to discuss the options with you. The customer gets even more worried because they might even have to have doubts on your credibility to complete the work. If you are the one, whenever there is a problem, you go to the customer and say, customer, can we please discuss how we can solve this problem? That means, what kind of a project manager are you if your customer has to solve your problems? So, looks good, but it's probably not the best thing to do. Next, meet with the project team and identify the alternatives. Sure, you can meet with your team. After all, your team is there to support you. So, and you can discuss with them what are the alternatives. What shall we do in this situation? So, as you can see, there are several correct answers. You can go to your manager, go to your boss, ask them what to do. You can go to the customer, ask them what to do. You can go to your team, ask them what to do. In this case, what would be the right thing to do? Should you go to your boss first? You can notify the boss about the delay. I have nothing against this. It's a good idea. But if you notify them of the issue and then ask them what to do, there is a problem here. I don't find why you should ask them what to do. What kind of a project manager are you if you don't know what to do? You are asking the boss, please tell me what to do. The boss will be thinking, did I appoint the right guy as the project manager? He doesn't know what to do. He is asking me what to do. So, informing the boss, informing the customer are good ideas, but asking other people what to do is not a great idea. When you are the project manager, you should be deciding what to do in this situation. So, with this reasoning, you can see that option A, B and C have been ruled out. That leaves only option D, so it must be the right answer. And yes, in this case, it will be the right answer. So you can answer such questions when you know the right answer, or else simply by following the method of elimination. Once you kill option A, B and C, only D is remaining. So it must be the right answer. And in this case, it is. So if you found this answer this way, great. But I can tell you that even though this looks to be the best thing, really this is not the best option. Option D is not the best every time. There are better options than this, just that they are not listed here. So just because they are not listed doesn't mean they are not good options. Now think about it. What could be better than this? After all, we are meeting with our own team and discussing the alternatives, identifying the alternatives. What could be better than this? Can you think about some situation? Well, let me point it out to you. The question says the project will be delayed by another week. So what does this mean? The project is already delayed. This is not something that is created today or yesterday. This project was already delayed 1 week earlier also. So what were you doing then? Were you sleeping at that time? Why didn't you take action when the first delay happened? Why did you let it happen by another week? You see, there is a deep problem here. Further, you look at it, there is a labor union issue. Do you think labor union issue will get resolved in a day or so? Generally, labor union issues kind of things take a long time to resolve. So this problem is not gonna be resolved by the next day or the next week, most likely. So if you were to ignore it or keep thinking that it was a minor issue, you are mistaken. Secondly, why didn't you act on it last week, earlier, when the moment the problem began to happen? The third problem with this is you are meeting with the team now to identify the alternatives. I mean, the dispute with the labor union happening, is it something that has never happened before in the history? No, it happens all the time. Labor union being there means there are going to be some kind of disputes and problems, and all these things are quite common. Therefore, why didn't you plan for this? Why didn't you think about the alternatives beforehand? Why didn't you think, if for some reason this China supplier is unable to supply the parts, what will we do in that situation? Why didn't you plan for a contingency like this? Why do you have to sit today and discuss the alternatives? That is the problem here. So even though D looks the best here, it is really not the best. I mean, here we will choose this as the right answer, the best answer, but in effect there could be better answers like doing something 1 week earlier, finding the alternative, not finding the alternative, taking action on the alternative that were pre-found earlier. So you can see there are many ways to tackle PMP questions. You must be very alert. Such questions, they test on your alertness, your proactiveness. Did you get this question correct? I hope you did, but if you did not, please learn from my explanation here, and the next time I hope you will get such questions correct. Let's look at the next question. Such questions are called extraneous information question. That means they will provide you with a lot of useless information that will not be helping you in any way. It is just multiple paragraphs of information. So such questions can be 1, 2, 3 paragraphs long. And after reading through the whole story, you realize that the story was completely bogus. Such questions are testing you on your ability to filter information quickly and find what is the relevant fact, what is the most important point from this entire story. Let's look at a question to get a better idea. You are the project manager for the Quick Pick Towing Company. Your company specializes in towing large vehicles across the country with a turnaround time of only 48 hours. Your project involves standardizing the branding and product offering for the company across all regions. Your lead engineer has given you the following estimate for a critical path activity: 55 days most likely, 66 days pessimistic, and 44 days most optimistic. What is the expected value or weighted average of this job? The choices provided are 66 days, 55 days, 44 days, and option D, cannot be determined by the information provided here. So as you can see, this is a pretty long verbose question. After you read the entire question, you realize that what your company does, what you do, it is of no consequence. It is completely useless information. The fact that you are working in a trucking company and then move around trucks is wasting your time. The most important thing here is that you have a critical path activity with estimates of 55 days, most likely pessimistic and the most optimistic estimates. Then the question is asking you, what is the expected value or weighted average? Have you heard these terms? What is weighted average? What is expected value? If you haven't heard of these terms, then you won't be able to answer this question. You will just have to make a wild guess, because this is a formula based question. There is a formula for weighted average. There is a formula for expected value. But if you haven't even come across these terms, then no way you can answer such questions. Now, I am not going to give you the formula now or explain in detail. Once we reach the schedule management knowledge area, we will cover this same question again, and that's when I will give you a detailed step-by-step answer, because by then you would know the formula. You would know how to calculate expected value or weighted average, and then you will be able to do it yourself. The next type of question is called out of the blue questions. That means here you will see a term that is a made up term. This is not a proper project management term. This is not a term used by PMI. Such questions are given to trick those who don't know the PMI proper terms that are used in the profession of project management. They test you on your ability of knowing the knowledge, facts based on the PMI's PMBOK guide. So let me test you with a question and see if you know these terms and can you spot the bogus one. As a project manager, you have been given responsibility for a project that is running behind schedule. Which of the following is the most appropriate technique to compress the project in order to meet the original target date and budget? Choices: A. PERT, B. Time minimizing technique, C. Crashing, or D. Multiprocessing. Do you know these terms? Did you find the bogus one? Please make a choice and then I'll tell you how to answer such questions. So here the question is simply asking you that you have a project that is running behind schedule. What is the most appropriate technique to compress the project so that you can finish on time and on budget? Now, if you knew the technique to compress the project, this would become a no-brainer, a 5-second question. You read it, answer it, move on to the next question. But if you don't know the term, then this becomes a 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute question, because you can keep staring at it. You don't know the terms. What is PERT? P-E-R-T. Have you heard about it? Have you seen this term before? Is this a genuine term or a bogus term? What about the time minimizing technique? Do you use it? Crashing or multiprocessing? I am sure you might have heard about multitasking, multiprocessing. So these seem to be some genuine terms, but you may not be really sure. So not to worry, let me explain to you. PERT is a genuine term. It stands for Program Evaluation and Review Technique. You will study this during schedule management. What about the time minimizing technique? Well, there is no way to minimize time. Time takes its own time. So this is a bogus term. Crashing, does it sound bogus to you as well? What about multiprocessing? Well, PMI talks about multitasking, but not multiprocessing. Multiprocessing are the processors in the computers. So multiprocessing, even though look genuine, it's a bogus term. And you may be amazed that crashing, which you might have never heard of, is one of the 2 schedule compression techniques. Therefore, it is the right answer. So here only PERT and crashing were the genuine terms, and crashing happened to be the correct answer. Now see what would happen if you don't study and don't come across multiple terms. So it's extremely important to broaden your knowledge. Learn as many PMI terms. Understand the terms used in project management. The more terms you know, the better qualified you will be. Throughout this entire program, I will be sharing a lot of terms with you, defining them, giving you the full and complete meaning and how to apply them on PMP questions. So watch out for them throughout the lessons. Let's look at another type of question. This type of question is called knowledge of prior processes question. This means they are testing you whether you know which process comes first and what process comes next. So this order of first and next will help you to answer such questions. If you establish exactly the order in your mind, you will be able to answer such questions pretty easily. They are simply testing you on your knowledge and facts based on the PMI's PMBOK guide, the processes as defined there. Remember, there are 49 processes, so you must get the complete sequence for you to be able to understand what comes first and what comes next. Let's test your current knowledge on a PMP mock question. The scope has been defined and the detailed activities are being planned. The process of decomposing deliverables into smaller, more manageable components is complete when A. Cost and duration estimates can be developed for each work element in detail. B. All change requests have arrived. C. Project ROI has been established. Or D. The WBS dictionary contains each and every work element. The question is not so long, but the choices take time to read. This question is asking you what comes after the scope is defined and the detailed activities are being planned. So we are doing a process where we are decomposing the deliverable into smaller components. When will this activity be complete? If you know the answer, fantastic. If you know the order of processes, you will be able to do it quickly. But if not, you may be wondering, what is a work element? What is WBS? What is ROI? What is WBS dictionary? So there are terms which, if you don't have a proper understanding, they can throw you off. You won't be able to pick the right answer. So not only the knowledge of terms, but the knowledge of processes is important. Project ROI is established. ROI stands for return on investment. This is generally established very early on in the project when we are discussing whether to do this project or not. So right now we are in a much detailed stage where the scope is done and we are decomposing the work. So option C should have been done long time back. So that won't be the right answer. Option B, all change requests have arrived. When can you say all change requests have arrived? Well, change requests keep coming until the end of the project. So you can never be sure of when all change requests have arrived. If you wait for all the change requests to arrive, you will be waiting for a very long time. So option B is not the right choice. Later, under scope management, you will come across the terms work element, WBS, WBS dictionary, and that's when you will see that the WBS dictionary contains detailed description of every work element. That's what we are doing. We are decomposing the work into smaller components. The smallest component is the work element, and all these work elements are listed in the WBS dictionary. but beware, just because the work is in the dictionary doesn't mean that the work is complete. The work will only be complete when the cost and duration estimates can be developed for each work element in detail. Only then can we say that the process of decomposing the deliverables has been completed successfully. So don't be too alarmed if you couldn't answer this question, because this requires the knowledge of the terms plus the knowledge of understanding of the processes and what comes first, what comes next. But never mind, learn from this and improve. Let's look at more questions. This question has 2 or more right answers. This is testing you on your sharpness, your objectivity in tackling a problem and choosing the right, the best answer that really answers the question. Let's look at the mock question to get a better understanding. The customer is unhappy about the recent delays in the project deliverables. They have just requested for a minor enhancement to the system which, although not part of the scope, can be done quickly. Your team advises you that this is the time to please the customer and win them over with a quick delivery. So what is the best thing to do in this situation? A. Finish it quickly as it will make the customer happy. B. Notify your boss. C. Send a change request form to the customer to fill. Or D. Start working on the enhancement while waiting for the paperwork to be completed. So as you can see, there are several alternatives here. The customer is unhappy. There have been delays in the deliverables. The customer now requests for a minor enhancement which can be done very quickly. Your team tells you, let's do it because we can win over the customer by doing this quick delivery and gain back their confidence. So you could do it quickly and make the customer happy. You could notify your boss. You could ask them to fill the paperwork and then only I'll act on it. Or else you start working on it so that you don't waste time while the paperwork is being done. What did you choose here? Alright, let's tackle the question. Did you spot that what the customer is requesting is not part of the scope? If it is not part of the scope, it is not part of the project. We are not going to give any extras to the customer. Giving extras is called gold plating. You will learn later on under scope management. But we are here to only deliver what we have agreed to deliver, no more and no less. So if this is out of scope, no way can you act on it. No way can you start working on it. We are not here to make anybody happy. We are here on a mission to deliver on time, on cost, on scope, on the agreed quality, not to make anybody particularly happy or unhappy. Therefore, finish it quickly is out of the question. If you do that, you are not a good project manager. B. Notify your boss. This looks a better option. Sure, nobody stops you. You can notify your boss. But remember, this is a minor enhancement. So if you are going to inform your boss about every minor enhancement that comes across, your boss will be looking at you because you would be coming to see the boss at least 20 to 50 times throughout the day. That many minor requests come each day on a large project. Even you notify the boss will be like, what are you going to do next? So just notifying the boss is not the complete solution. It is just part of the solution. It doesn't look like the best thing to do. Can you start working on it while the paperwork is being completed? No way. Until the change is approved, you can't touch it. And since it is not yet approved, no way we can touch it. This leaves only one choice. Send a change request form to the customer to fill. Once the customer will fill the form, we will then start our change management process. We will evaluate, assess, decide whether to do this change or not, how long it will take, who will pay for this change. Because if you simply do the change, who is paying for it? Whose time and money is being spent? If you spend your own time and money to please somebody, well, you are reducing your company's profitability, because the time and money spent here, I am sure the customer won't be paying for it. Surely in the question nowhere it says that they are willing to pay for it. So therefore it is premature to simply start working on it or finishing it. The best thing would be to simply send a change request form. So as you can see, such is the choices. When there are multiple right answers, best would be to get the change request approved. Then you can notify the different stakeholders, the customer, the boss, etc., etc. Did you get this one right? If not, don't despair. These questions are not meant for you to feel that, oh, you don't know PMP. This is just to make you aware of the length and breadth, the depth of PMP questions, so that you are more alert while studying for the material and you pay more attention when I show you mock PMP questions. Then you need to apply the same methodology when you are doing homework questions on a daily basis. Let's look at one last type of questions. This type of questions test your knowledge of the inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs of processes, the ITTO type of questions. They are testing whether you know what is the correct process, what comes first and what comes next. They are testing on your knowledge of the processes only. Let's check a final question here. Which of the following process is mostly concerned with mitigation of risks? Is it A, control quality? Is it B, risk identification? Is it C, plan risk management? Or D, plan risk responses? So don't worry if you don't know the answer, but there is a simple way to answer this. We are trying to mitigate the risk. So I am sure you can guess this won't happen in control quality. This is something to do with the risk. There are three processes listed here: risk identification, plan risk management, and plan risk responses. Risk identification is all about identifying the risk, not about what to do with it. Plan risk management is planning our approach. How do we manage the risks? So that is also not the right answer. The correct process here is plan risk responses. Here we look at all the risks that can happen on a project, and then we look at and say, what can we do to avoid the risk? What can be done to mitigate this risk? So this is a prevention, a proactive activity. It happens during plan risk responses. Once we do the chapter on risk management, you will be able to answer such questions pretty easily. These are 5-second questions once you know your processes. So as you can see, we have gone through length and breadth quite a few kinds of questions. Questions that are situational, out of the blue terms, they have multiple right answers, ambiguous questions, confusing questions, wordy questions, questions which require you to have knowledge of proper processes, and even ITTO type of questions which will test you on the input and output of processes. Well, be alert, be prepared for such questions. You will be required to answer such questions routinely in the homework questions, while studying, and definitely in the PMP examination. So I hope you got a better idea now. Over the last few videos, we saw an overview of the entire program. We got an idea about the PMP examination, and now we have seen some questions overview. With this, you have a better understanding of what you are up against. Now is the time to ready our battle plans. The next session is to come up with a proper study plan so that from tomorrow you can study in earnest and start watching the videos as they get released to you. Do the homework questions, take practice, review, take notes, and be ready for PMP. That's all for now, my friend. All the best.